Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is already inching closer to the end of July of 2024, and The Acolyte Episode 8 failed to reverse any damage that was done to the previous 7 episodes by Kathleen Kennedy, by Leslie Headland, and we already know that Disney is in a phase of panic right now over the current status of Lucasfilm, one of the most failed divisions over at the Walt Disney Company. There has been a lot of drama happening, by the way, between Lucasfilm HQ and the Walt Disney Company based on several factors. One of the biggest ones of all has a lot to do with the underperformance of The Acolyte. Let's discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you are new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So we all know that Kathleen Kennedy is another figure that will never admit failure, as much as Leslie Headland, as much as others out there within the Hollywood bubble. They will never admit failure. They will never admit that their deliberate agenda did not contribute to the underperformance of a product in this sense, like the Acolyte series, by Lucasfilm. Now, what's interesting about this has a lot more to do with how Disney recently took action against Kathleen Kennedy in recent days, and how a lot of this has to do with the underperformance of The Acolyte Episode 8, the Nielsen ratings, by the way. The Acolyte didn't even make it into the top 10 as viewership continues to decline. But what's interesting further has more to do with Kathleen Kennedy and how she was indeed punished to a degree, by Bob Iger. It may not be a complete fix to Lucasfilm, but it is at least, at the very minimum, one little baby step of Disney actually doing something. At least something. So let's get into this. Now, specifically, of course, with The Acolyte already considered a massive failure for Disney and Lucasfilm, especially after failing to appear in the top 10 Nielsen ratings as viewership declines on a historic scale for Lucasfilm. One major development now has more to do with what Bob Iger and the board of directors recently decided in an emergency meeting that took place just days after, in the aftermath of the Acolyte finale, failing to reverse any damage done to the show. One significant update now to this scenario involves how Bob Iger and the board recently made the ultimate call that was just finalized to cancel a series of expensive Kathleen Kennedy approved projects connected to the Acolyte show and the High Republic era. The specifics of this are how initially both Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy had agreed to greenlight a total of 3 Star Wars movies exclusively for Disney Plus that would actually have a rough budget of $230 to $40 million per film, centered on the High Republic era. The strategy by Disney was to release these movies and brand them as Star Wars Eclipse Chapters 1 through 3. Recently, however, Bob Iger and the board decided to take action against Kathleen Kennedy's expensive concepts and creations, after The Acolyte Episode 8 failed on a grand scale that even Disney did not see coming. The first High Republic film was planned to drop sometime by 2027 on Disney Plus, not for theaters, just to be very clear, that would expand the books and focus on a time of peace for the Jedi. Kathleen Kennedy's plan, however, was to put Leslie Headland at the forefront to lead these Star Wars Eclipse movies based in the High Republic era. The Witches of Brendock, surprisingly, were also going to be a part of the story, and the large criticism over those characters are what made Disney take a massive step back as well. This decision by Bob Iger taking action against Kathleen Kennedy to some degree from these expensive failures from releasing on Disney Plus reportedly created a large divide between the Lucasfilm story group and the Disney executives that helped Bob Iger make the ultimate call, since Disney as of late for many of their divisions have been bleeding money in recent months, with the exception, by the way, of Inside Out 2, which by the way also was not enough to save from the firings taking place at Pixar. Now, in addition to this, Kathleen Kennedy also lost a promised pay raise that she was going to receive for the fall of 2024. This has now been officially called off by Bob Iger, and it was going to be, of course, a rough $15 million pay raise from her salary of $25 million. Disney, of course, and their plan to allow Kathleen Kennedy's salary to increase to just above $40 million have now been called off. Now, guys, let me just stop here for one moment before I move on. What's interesting about that is the fact that we know that Disney is and has been spending money on the most ridiculous things when it comes to their films, their talents, their TV shows, the parks, everything related to Disney. they have a terrible investment strategy that has not worked for them in recent years. That's why their Disney stock, by the way, has been very erratic. It's been an up and down roller coaster. And at the same exact time, we know that Lucasfilm is something that Disney really is trying to, and I say trying to, kind of stabilize at this point. They want to dwindle down the number of TV shows, they want to dwindle down the number of spin-off shows, and kind of up the amount of movies instead. But the first mistake that they were about to make was that they wanted to actually have movies, not for theaters, but movies, however, for Disney Plus. Now, could you imagine investing $230 to $40 million per film, a total of 3 High Republic movies altogether? That amount of money, actually excluding marketing expenses, you're looking at well over $1 billion spent for movies that are meant for streaming. Makes no sense to me. It just goes to show you how out of touch with reality they really are when it comes to the demand from Star Wars fans. If you even want to say that there are a lot of fans out there demanding more Star Wars, I think a lot of fans have given up. But moving on forward, alright, now however, though of course all of this taking place through a combination of Iger's cost containment plan and the underperformance of the Acolyte, changes were made at last minute, and all discussions of her pay raise have been cancelled, along with the High Republic movies now finally no longer moving forward after months of a tug-of-war situation between both Lucasfilm and Disney. Kathleen Kennedy is already demanding that these decisions are to be reversed, but nothing is changing Iger's mind as of now. So, I'm not defending Bob Iger by any means, I'm not defending Disney by any means as well, but we have to admit one thing, is that this is, at the very, very least, one little baby step in the right path to making some kind of effort to kind of just take a jab at Kathleen Kennedy and to say, no, you're not doing this, or no, you're not doing that. No pay raise, no High Republic movies for streaming that are $230 to $40 million to create per film. So that makes sense. It seems like that they are slowly, at a snail's pace, alerting on their investment strategy. But I don't really believe that this is going to change things. I don't believe it's going to repair Star Wars. I think that Star Wars is just irreversible damage right now. I don't really see it recovering no matter what you do. You can shoehorn CGI Luke into the Mandalorian movie all you want. It's not going to change a thing. What was done with the sequel movies are set in stone. They exist, they are canon, they did what they did with Luke, and that's the end of the story. Everything that is done, whether it's in the Mandalorian era or whatever era that you choose, before the sequels, it all leads up to the sequels. That's the entire idea by Lucasfilm. That's one thing that they are still defending. So, yeah, I mean, at the same exact time, we know that The Acolyte was pretty much the final nail in the coffin for many Star Wars fans out there. This was literally The Last Jedi 2.0. Leslie Headland is yet Rian Johnson 2.0. I've talked about this many times. She is literally him. She looked up to him as inspiration even. So I'd like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.